Welcome to the second episode of the Healthy Hustling Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Broadworth, and today I am with Ryan Schafer. Ryan is a coach at 8th Day Gym in Grand Rapids. He does some personal training as well and is a CrossFit athlete. So I think he is just a key person and really meets a lot of the demographic one that I tend to treat too as a physical therapist. And he's been great to get to know over the past year or so that we've known each other. So Ryan, go ahead. You can get right into it and tell us what your background is and where'd you go to school, all that fun stuff.
Sure. So Ryan Schafer, head coach at 8th Day Gym. Like Eric said, I also compete in the sport of CrossFit. So that's something that is constantly on my plate, but I did not go to school for any of this, which is kind of neat. A unique kind of path to get to where I am today. I went to Grand Valley and studied industrial engineering and supply chain management, and graduated in 2014 with an emphasis in operations and then a minor in mathematics. So out of school, I had an offer from a company in town, an operations company that I worked at for almost 3.5 years as basically a supply chain engineer. Ended up getting into management a little bit on the operations floor, and then was basically gifted a really cool opportunity at 8th Day Gym downtown, and was able to leave corporate America through some unique things that ended up happening. So now full-time, I am a CrossFit coach, functional fitness coach. And I do kind of run a very small portion of my time is dedicated to personal training, individual clients. I guess, we can get into like kind of how I got to where I am now in detail a little bit more, but.
Yeah, so I think that you really hit on a lot of really key things that are really cool. A lot of people are kind of looking at how do they make their own path? How do they get out of corporate America? I think a lot of people feel that in order to succeed in life is you got to go to school, got to get that education, and then go work for the man for however many years, 30, 40 years. Retire, hope you have a 401k and all that stuff. So that's really too what the Healthy Hustling Podcast is about. It's not only living really a healthy lifestyle to me, but it's also kind of blending your work life, your personal life, and just leading a healthy lifestyle all around, because that's really what's important, is mind, body, soul, which sounds like you do a pretty good job at. So who first introduced you to CrossFit? How did you get into that?
So I played both college hockey and college lacrosse. And so obviously through a collegiate level sport, you're constantly training and also kind of outside of your individual sport, you're doing your own physical activity. So towards the end of, I played lacrosse at Grand Valley. And towards the end of my, career with the team, we started dabbling a little bit with like HIIT style training. It was always relatively new, and not a lot of the people enjoyed it, the guys on the team, just because it was really difficult compared to what we consider, or what I call bro lifting, like curls and benches and stuff like that. But
the occasional squat.
Sure. Yeah. Which is mostly like a quarter squat, and there's no depth to it or anything like that. But so towards the end of that, I kind of got interested to the CrossFit Games, which was always on ESPN, and you kind of watch these guys compete in fitness, which at the time was a little bit it was intriguing, but it was also kind of like, how is this a sport? These guys are just doing a bunch of pull-ups and running, and they're calling it a sport, and it's on ESPN. And I eventually just kind of started searching the internet and bought a Groupon for a gym in town, and then did a month trial and basically fell in love with it. And so it's 2019. So this is like 7 years, a little over 7 years later.
Wow.
It's like basically my life. Like I'm obsessed with it, just as I was. And the term that a lot of people use in CrossFit is you're drinking the Kool-Aid, which is the Kool-Aid of CrossFit itself. And everything that kind of comes with it, the lifestyle that it brings. And I haven't gotten sick of it yet. So it's quite fun.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I've been more actively involved in CrossFit, I dabbled with it a little bit, but have been more consistent for the past year. And what I love about it is that it just gets people moving. And so as a physical therapist, whatever your cup of tea is, sure, I think is great. But I think one thing that speaks to CrossFit is a lot of people joke that you're not in CrossFit unless you talk about CrossFit, right? Yeah, and so, but I think that really resonates and says something well, that, hey, it's got a really good following. And I think everything with it too, seeing it evolve and adapt in the workouts, and at 8th Day Gym, everything is very structured in how things are run. Yeah. And you do a great job at coaching that. Yeah, so I definitely can testify to that.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important is to note about CrossFit and functional fitness in general is that the CrossFit Games themselves and competing in the sport of CrossFit is maybe 1% of what CrossFit actually is standing for a lot of the people that do it. Don't get me wrong, like competition in terms of CrossFit within gyms and on a larger scale, like international competitions is really cool. But for the most part, like you said, it's getting people that wouldn't generally move. It's getting them to move and to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So, within the walls of 8th Day, we have people that are, from 10 years old to 60 plus, and every athletic ability that you could imagine, are able to, quote unquote CrossFit. And not only are they getting a great workout, but there's also just so many other benefits that come with it. You constantly hear about the camaraderie of CrossFit. And I think the relationships within these walls is something that is much more valuable than simply coming in and getting a workout and then leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of going off of that, what's your favorite CrossFit movement? And then also, what is your favorite physical activity to do outside of CrossFit?
Cool. My favorite CrossFit movement, man. So it's kind of funny because in CrossFit, you end up chasing that feeling of being, destroyed by a workout, or like, you get really tired from a movement. And so there's a lot of movements that do that to a lot of people, but there's only a few that you can look at and like continue to want to do. And things like, for me, especially being a little bit larger of an athlete, I really like the machines because my power output is something that I can kind of lean on as a strength of mine. So I really like the rower and I really like a bike. You put those in a workout for me, and
it's your go-to.
It's a pretty good workout for me. But outside of CrossFit, so yeah, I would say biking and rowing. I really like the barbell too. That's always a good time. But outside of CrossFit, I have a 1-year-old dog, so I like to walk him a lot because he has way too much energy. But I also mountain bike quite a bit with some buddies in town. So we go, when the weather's nice enough, we'll go 1 to 2 times a week.
Nice.
Go hit the trails.
Yeah, I've mountain biked. I did it one time with a buddy, and it was a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Sure.
Pretty challenging. He was flying way ahead of me, and I'm trying to like take the turns without just eating it. So that's
actually,
a pretty
ironically, one of the CrossFit Games athletes this week just got in a mountain biking wreck and punctured a lung, and he's out for the season. So hopefully that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. Make sure you wear
he's fine. He wore a helmet and he's fine.
Yeah, the helmet didn't prevent the punctured lung, but no. it'll help the concussion and head trauma a little bit anyway. So who is as like a coach and a trainer, who's your ideal client that you have? Like, what's your, I guess, avatar, as they like to say?
I think a person that I guess in the wheelhouse of personal training is somebody that is committed, is dedicated, is motivated on their own. And this might sound funny, but one that also shows up on time. motivation is something that is really helpful for the client to have, because it tends out, things don't last very long if the personal training or if the personal trainer is the only one that is providing that motivation. So the client having their own source of motivation is really helpful. So yeah, it doesn't really, like, physically, it doesn't really matter, just as long as that person is driven, maybe has a goal in mind, and then also, yeah, provides kind of a little bit at least of their own motivation to show up, to kind of give it their all each session. And then, yeah, jokingly on time.
Yeah. No, and I would say that's very similar to me with physical therapy. Showing up on time is huge. That way you can get the most out of the session, right? Because we're all on busy schedules, and then absolutely being motivated is extremely important. The way I tell people, as far as with physical therapy goes, I provide, and it's going to be the same thing for you, I provide a plan and everything like that we need to follow.
Sure.
And then it's their job to really make sure that they follow the plan that we've set forth. And really, it's a team effort for, I would say, both avenues, because you can set out the best training schedule ever, and if they're not following it and not doing the things outside of the training sessions as well, they're not going to get the most out of it. So, yeah, what do you like most about either, you could pick either, being the head coach at 8th Day or doing your personal training? What do you like most about it?
I'm glad we circled back to this, because earlier in the session we had talked about being stuck down a path and thinking that's the only way to do your life. And for so long I had thought, like, I get a degree, I get a job, I work that job, maybe move up within that job, like you said, work for the man. And you hear something often, like, the saying, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And for so long, I just kind of like rolled my eyes at that, because it was like, man, like, work is work. You're always going to be kind of like just grinding at work. And then when you get out of work, it'll be a relief. And I think the thing that I like most about where I'm at now is that I have yet to have the feeling of, man, I'm going into work. There's like an excitement to the energy that I have when I step foot here. So I think the thing that I like most about being here is that I want to be here even when I'm not here, and to be able to call this place, the place that I work at, and my career here is here now, is still kind of like strange to me. Because for so long, you sit in a desk and you just kind of like take your mind off of things while you're doing a different task that you might not really enjoy that much, but it makes the money and pays the bills. But if you're able to find an excuse to call what you do for fun a job, I think you're in a really good spot. And I've been very blessed to say that I can say that now. So
nice.
Yeah, I would say that for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a great answer. And I think that's something a lot of people strive for, is to not feel like work is work, and, not to dread, like, I got to get up, it's Monday,
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this conversation with people before, but, oh, it's Monday. It's like, you should be thankful, that it's Monday. It's a start to another week and everything like that. So
fresh start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the most difficult thing, though? Obviously not everything's, can't always be rainbows. So what's the most difficult thing that you have to deal with?
Yeah. So I think just not having enough time in the day to do things that, like, not that you want to do, but things that need to get done. When you start, so my personal training business built around myself is external to me coaching here at the gym. So I have, a checkbox of so many classes that I'll be coaching for the week. Usually the schedule is about the same. And then within that, I get to fill in, time to both work at the gym, external to coaching. So whether it be like a project at the gym or helping with something, around the gym, whatever it may be. And then my own personal training clients, right? So I have, 5 or 6 individuals that I either coach in person one-on-one, or write programming for. So there's that time. And then there's also, as an athlete that's, kind of pursuing this professional CrossFit career, you have to have, a minimum of 2 hours, sometimes more each day to train. And so, you combine all that and start running out of time. And so I think that's the most difficult is day by day, based around training schedules, based around training clients, and then coaching and helping kind of, run this place. It becomes difficult to find enough time to do it all at the level of quality that I want to do it at.
Yeah. Time's always pretty valuable, and you can never seem to have enough of it. That's for sure.
No.
So what would you, so if someone were to ask you kind of if they're in a rut or they're thinking about starting up something on the side,
Sure.
What's your advice to them?
Yeah. So you mean like in terms of chasing something other than your current role?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for 3+ years I was in that position, and I follow closely with 2 YouTube vloggers that are roughly the same age as me, and the one actually went through a really similar situation as me, where he was working a job that he wasn't unhappy at, but it just wasn't fulfilling to the extent that he wanted it to be at. And I watched him go through all of these phases of like kind of, quote unquote, grinding outside of work to try and create something to where eventually he could leave that role and then, kind of follow his passion to financially support him and then hopefully exceed wherever he was before. And so it was actually really helpful to be able to watch this kid who, wasn't much different than me, do exactly what I wanted to do. And it happened, within like a 2 to 3 year span where I was spending time watching this kid, follow his dreams per se. And I was still sitting at the desk at my corporate job, like living vicariously through this guy. And, the owner here at 8th Day is become a very good friend of mine now. And at the time it was competing. I had left a previous gym who, great friends still to this day, left and started competing here. And I've always heard, and there was one thing that my dad always said, it's all about who you know. And that's something I think you take for granted until something happens. And the relationship that I created here was what kind of opened that door to be able to start pursuing that dream job. So in terms of like what I would tell somebody else is do as much as you can outside of your current role, to where it doesn't interfere, and put as much time as you physically can into that until you're able to be truthfully ready to make that leap of faith. I think there's a fine line between leaving a role or taking that leap too soon, because I think there's a lot of bases that should be covered first before you make a risky move like that. But at any time there's going to be risk, and you have to know that risk is real, especially in terms of like, financial situations. And as long as you're motivated by that risk, then it's a good thing. If you're fearful of the risk, it might go the other way. So accept the risk, accept kind of that challenge of chasing whatever it is you're chasing. And then, when you pull the trigger, just grind it out, make it happen. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. That's some really good advice. I think it's definitely important to, before you make a jump, like weigh out the positives, negatives.
Yeah, totally.
And then, sometimes you gotta just go for it and make that leap of faith, which can be scary, but ultimately can be very rewarding as well. So do you have any big changes coming up in the near future, whether it's, personal life, work, whatever it may be, fun, any big changes? And then where do you see yourself in the next year and 5 years?
Sure. Big changes. Not really. I mean, like I'm still, a year and a half into this. So I think just like continuing to enjoy and explore different creative avenues here is something that I'll continue to do. Obviously, like I said, time is very difficult, but I'm also exploring other ways to be able to help people. Maybe it's not one-on-one, but virtually or just like one-on-one via email or Skype. Those are things that can be accommodated, even without like physical time with somebody. So that's something that I'm definitely pursuing. going to be competing a lot this next year, so that's pretty exciting.
Three competitions, right?
Yeah. So Michael, who is the other head coach here, we compete together on a team of 4. So we have, so 3 big competitions here in 2020 that we're going to be competing in. And then, what was the last part of that question?
5 years.
Oh, shoot. Man, I don't know. I always find that question pretty difficult. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? In terms of like a physical, I don't know, like standpoint, like I would like to see myself, like physically it's difficult to say. Mentally, I would like to say that I'm still being challenged in a creative way, and surrounded by people that have that same mindset and are, are continuing to better themselves while bettering the people around them. But physically, man, I don't know. We have a lot of things in the works here that we're working pretty hard at. So if some of those things go the way that we would like them to, could be pretty successful in that way. But physically, I don't know. Hopefully 130 market here at 8th Day Gym.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they say something about like you're the sum of like the top 6 people that you're around the most or something like that. So
there's so many sayings that like for so long you're just kind of like, man, I've heard this so many times. And then like things start to happen and click and fall into place, and you're like, okay, I guess I can relate to that now. As corny as they seem. But,
right. Yeah. So a little bit of a bonus question to end here. What does, as like the Healthy Hustling podcast, the question I like to ask at the end is, what does healthy hustling mean to you if you had to, I guess, define that?
So health, let's break it down. Health and hustling. Health to me is more than just eating your greens and exercising 30 minutes a day. Health to me, and I think you feel the same way, is a combination of all aspects of life being healthy, whether it's, your physical sense, your nutritional sense, your relationship sense. I think all of those play into a balanced health that everybody should be pursuing at all times, really. And I think balance to me is really like the word that describes health the most wholeheartedly. And then hustling, obviously, is kind of like grinding or working hard or just working at something that you're passionate about. So to put the two together, it's, finding balance through working hard or hustling or grinding kind of day after day, and finding the balance between all of those aspects of health in your life.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I don't think it's truly healthy if you don't have that balance. I think you can take certain things overboard too much and that's the hardest part, is finding that balance. So that's pretty much it. That's all the questions that I have. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast, very second episode. And we look forward to continuing to work with you here at 8th Day. You provide an awesome environment. Like I said, if anyone wants to come check out Ryan and 8th Day Gym, it's right on Market off the 131 exit in Grand Rapids if you're heading southbound. And it's an awesome facility. They've got not only the CrossFit classes, but they've got boot camp as well. And then they've got the body shop for if you want to do anything, any personal training. And they have a lot of really good resources here, and Ryan's just one of them. So come check out 8th Day Gym, downtown Grand Rapids, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. So awesome. So thanks so much for tuning in. You guys have a great day, and stay tuned for the next episode, and we will be talking to you then. Have a great one. Thank you for listening to episode 2 of the Healthy Hustling podcast with Dr. Eric Broadworth, presented by Fuel Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. I also want to thank Ryan Schafer, head coach of 8th Day Gym, for coming on to today's episode and sharing some very insightful information. If you want to subscribe to our podcast and listen to future episodes, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. If you also want more tips on health and wellness, you can subscribe to the Fuel Physical Therapy and Sports Performance YouTube page, where the Healthy Hustling podcast will also be featured. And you can also subscribe to my Instagram at drericbroadworth.dpt.ocs. on our next episode, we are going to be featuring Chelsea Langley, the owner and occupational therapist at Paper Plane Therapies, based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is a pediatric occupational and speech therapy clinic.